Do you want to introduce yourself to stream so they know who you are, who we're talking to, and kind of what you wanted to talk about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, there we go. I was still on the screen. I didn't even see you in person yet. Oh, I am live.
Yes.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's why there's that's why there's a Twitch chat you can talk to that you said you've been talking to. That would be why that's there.
Wow. Amazing. Well, hi everyone. Salutations, everyone. Of course. So, my name is LadyJulz. I stream at LadyJulz 44 here on Twitch. I do various Let's Plays to provide a kind of a refuge and a little bit of revelry in this fucked up time we're living in.
Okay.
And I'm a capital A nerd, so I love tabletop role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons and Dagger Heart. So
I'm sorry you've never been able to
brewer.
get a game of D&D that lasted more than 3 sessions. That's unfortunate.
Actually, I've been pretty good about getting more than 3 sessions. I actually run my own D&D crew at my local queer center.
That's the reason you're able to do it. You're the pilot. I understand now.
Yes,
most everybody's DM experiences are as follows: I want to play D&D, but I can't find a DM, or I can be the forever DM, and the area in between is where they get 1 to 3 sessions, and then everything falls apart. So,
yeah, yes, very much so. That is. Trust me, I have my fair share. More campaigns and sessions starts than ends. And even though I've been doing this for like 6+ years, I've only completed as a player 1 campaign.
That's pretty normal.
That's it.
That's pretty normal.
And it is. It's sad, but at the same time, you're there rolling math rocks and telling fun stories session by session. You're having a good time if it's your thing.
Look, sometimes you get to level 20 and you kill God. Sometimes you get to level 6 and you die in a bar, passed out. Like, it just... Sometimes the campaign ends in weird ways.
Roll con save to not barf. That has happened multiple times. But that's why I always have high constitution, so I don't have to do that. Constitution's my favorite stat.
I mean, I'm mostly
nerdy.
I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of D&D, but I usually play Paladin because having a handful of dice to go, my mace hits you for 6 plus God.
Plus God.
That's what I like
Roll
to
for
do.
God damage. I also love paladins. I'm a little more on the barbarian side, but I do love paladins.
I just think it's also I think it's also fun to just be like, I kept 1 point and lay on hands. Why? So I can just grab the barbarian randomly, or the bard usually, and just go, all right, so this is the last time you try to fuck the orc. I have used my last point of lay on hands specifically to resuscitate you. You have 1 health. Do with it what you will.
Yes, it is very much the what are those shockers in hospitals that like clear?
Lay on hands is
clear skill.
There's paladins that use lay on hands like a heal, and they are bad. There's paladins that use lay on hands like they have 25 defibrillators, and that is what I do.
Defibrillator.
Yes,
that is the word. But yes, I also make a Dagger Heart homebrew, not just Dungeons and Dragons homebrew, because Dagger Heart is really cool and awesome, and it's just a little bit more roleplay, a little bit more free, and not as restrictive as D&D could be.
Okay.
But it all depends on the table, all depends on who you play with, so yeah. Okay. That's me, what I do. If you like my stuff, you want to go check me out, Patreon, that's where all my stuff is. And if you at all going to be a little self-aware here, if you ever hear a little tremble in my voice, I'm new to all this. So I'm a bit nervous at 72 people in the audience.
Just pretend they're not there. I do that every day. It's the only way I stay sane, because fuck at least 70 of those 72 people.
At least 70 of the 72.
At least 70 of those 72 people. They can figure it out.
Is that the guessing game?
They can figure out who they are. It's not Dave. It's definitely not Dave. He's one of the 70.
Can I post
my mod Dorito Dave is one
chat?
of it. You can post your Twitch channel if you'd like.
My Twitch channel. You got it.
And the ambassador
got
says,
it.
as some of the experience of the big freeze in Texas, those weekends were actually pretty nice. Didn't lose power. I did, however, spend my grocery bill on tinned fish and crackers. I spent my grocery bill on trail mix and propane. So stuff to cook food in case the power went out, and stuff that could be eaten without having to cook it if need be.
Over here in the Silver State, Nevada, we are also experiencing cold, but our cold is dry, so the snow is non-existent.
Yeah,
the snow just comes here for like a little bit and then just melts. It's the ice you have to worry about.
It's mostly been ice here too, though apparently Amazon was able to get a truck down to my house this morning. I didn't realize they were going to try to do that. So apparently the roads aren't as bad right now. At least the heavier trucks are able to do things just fine. So I might head out and get groceries later and just not groceries. I have to wait till I get paid for that. But you know what I mean. I may go out to do errands later and see how that goes. Hey, as a real quick aside, before we get into the meat of the video, maybe consider subscribing to the channel. I try to cover politics in a way that makes them a little less miserable to engage with, and I try to be as even-handed as I can. If you find those things valuable, then please consider subscribing to the channel and letting a couple friends know what I'm doing over here. I've also got another channel where I cover different kinds of topics, and that can be seen linked in the description as well. Thank you for your time. Back to the main part of the video. That said, so what did you want to talk about today?
Oh, yes. Sorry. So the thing I want to talk with you about was as a viewer of your channel for a while, and I absolutely respect your content. I honestly just am grateful that people like you exist. And I wanted to say that on stream, and I just wanted to also say to your audience real quick, thank you all for keeping this guy alive for all these years.
They have done a pretty good job of that, I'm not gonna lie.
You've done amazing, and I just want to wish all of you just so thank you, because just the consistency, you have the Bernie Sanders resilience of just never giving up.
I wouldn't say that's necessarily true, but as much as I do appreciate the aggrandizing, I do.
I understand.
I'm already a narcissist. I don't need help. So
you know what? Fair. I'll stop. I'll pull the brakes right there. I'll do it there.
I appreciate it.
To say that, and that's it. That's all the sweet in the well for now. But what I wanted to talk about was specifically voting. And though, and it's a surprise to all who I talk with, because they think one way or the other, but I have been a non-voter for ever since 2016, which was my first election.
All right. So
yeah.
My first question would be, in as succinct a way as possible, what does it cost you to vote, not in a general election, but in a primary?
As you'll come to find out, and all that, as you've stated, not really nothing. I will subsede this to you.
Okay.
It doesn't cost anything other than, well, for me, in my current situation, just an hour or two to get to the voting place by the public bus and all of that. In terms of my partners or people I've known who work on voting days, and like, it's harder to get that day off. Now, obviously, that's where mail-in voting happens. So just filling something out and putting in, it does not take the energy to do it, is not at all a lot. And that I will agree with. So
my question would be, is there a reason you have not, for the past decade, participated in any level in the democratic process? And I'll save a follow-up for that, but I do want to ask that.
So for me, there's too many points to go down. And I think I could go down the list if you would want them.
Let's go with your three most, whether you think they are your most salient points, or whether you think that they are the points that matter the most to you. Like they're the most personally important to you. Whichever one you want to choose, let's go with three for time's sake.
That's perfectly fair.
Okay.
So for me, I guess one moment, it's not I guess the most burning one, I would say, is you'll notice that a lot of my points are me pointing out a problem, and I'm trying to find a solution here.
Okay,
so
that's entirely
I'm great
fine.
at pointing out a problem. So the problem I see is if rights are so important, if our system is so held fast and flexible, but also infallible, then how can things like Roe v. Wade be overturned? How can rights be dialed back once they have been fought and achieved?
So,
if that is a thing, and yeah, that would be the major, like, we did all this work. Why is it being taken away?
Okay.
If our system is so good.
So let's go ahead and put a stopgap on that one. We'll go to point 2 and 3 after this, but I want to make sure that while that one's fresh in my head, I can talk about it.
Yeah, please. I want to go one by
one.
one.
All right. So, first question: do you believe that Roe v. Wade would have been overturned under either a Hillary Clinton or a Kamala Harris presidency?
I don't know.
Okay. Do you know how Roe v. Wade was overturned? The mechanics that caused it to disappear?
The mechanics was that the Supreme Court was jam-packed with conservatives and and limpy Democrats who would side with the conservatives more often than not. Okay, so I want to stop you right there, because the limpy Democrats in the Supreme Court was not what happened. If you looked at the opinions that were given from the Supreme Court, the decision was made on party lines. So the Democrats, or the Democratic appointed justices, did fight for their points. They did. But because there's a 9-person Supreme Court, and that Supreme Court was more conservative than it was liberal, as a result of that, we lost Roe v. Wade. So the next question would be, how did that Supreme Court, what were the major things that caused that Supreme Court to become more conservative? From my understanding and memory, again, it was all of the conservative justices that were put in by Donald Trump's first presidency, correct? And then the courts. Yeah. So he was able to elect 3 justices. Now, there is a bit of history where that gets a little fucky, where, we had a death in the court system during Obama's presidency, and Mitch McConnell stonewalled bringing in another person. But again, at that point, the problem was an elected representative caused an issue. And then for Donald Trump, an elected representative appointed 3 justices that allowed the justice system to skew so far into the conservative or even regressive arguments that we lost Roe v. Wade. So an elected official made a decision, and that decision appointed people that were able to undermine our rights. So my question to you would be, would there have been utility in more people voting against that conservative president coming into office? Well, then my little nihilism comes in. Okay. And goes like, okay, then we're just playing tug of war with 2 parties that just fight against each other. We will always be doing that. That is the reality of living as a human being. The reality of living as a human being is there will always be a tug of war of ideologies. The goal as a pragmatic human being is to win more of those fights than you lose, so that when you die, the next generation has it better off than you. But the tug of war is going to happen no matter what you do. So my advice there would be, recognize that the tug of war is going to happen. You can't stop the tug of war from happening. People would disagree, and people can be propagandized about what is good for them or the country, etc. That conflict will exist no matter what. So you have to live in the reality where that conflict will exist and operate accordingly. And what will probably be the takeaway from this conversation is that if the changes I would want to see in the government would only happen via the instruments that we have to do that, which is voting.
So we have more instruments than voting. We have more that are available to us, but
that is my question, actually. Yeah, what are the other instruments? Because that was going to be one of my questions.
All right, so one of the other instruments that we have, voting is the bare minimum. Voting is the lowest level. That is the first one you can do. But one of your other instruments you have, you're a content creator. One of your instruments is influence. You have the ability.
This is true.
You have the ability to grow an audience, because I don't know. I don't know what your current viewer base is, and I don't know what that viewer base is going to look like in 2 or 3 years from now. You could explode. You could recede. I don't personally know. The same thing can be said of me. So as a content creator, you have created for yourself an avenue of influence that does not exist for most other people, where you don't just have the individual power of your vote, but you have the influence to make other votes happen, to increase the amount of people who are voting in your favor. You can create, for lack of a better term, a voting block that is able to go out and change the world depending on your size. That is an ability you have access to. Conversely, though, let's say that you grow to a particular size and you maintain the nihilism. You conversely convince a lot of would-be voters not to go out and vote. So I guess my next question in regards to the voting thing with the nihilism thing, do you know, just statistically, the thing that allows Democrats to win more elections? I'm not saying Democrats are a perfect solution.
Voter turnout.
Okay, so it's
the more people who votes, the more democratic they'll be.
Right.
Because left is sides with facts more often than not.
That's a hopeful way of looking at it. I think it's just more that the general ideology of the United States is neoliberalism, and the regressive, more fascist ideologies of the conservative sector are not in line with the majority opinion of the United States. Those more neoliberal ideologies tend to vote more in favor of the Democrats, or otherwise feel disenfranchised for some reason and then don't go out and vote. Generally.
Yes. I'm one of those disenfranchised voters, which is why I'm here talking. Right. So because I want to do more. I have that need to do stuffing.
So I'm going to stop you right there. You want to do more, but you've chosen to do nothing. Why is that?
Exactly.
Why is that one?
Because... And so another reason why I came on was I also wanted to show like the weird hypocritical dichotomy that a lot of us get into, where we want to do change, we want to help, and yet we see all these flaws and go like, is it worth it? Why do we have to play by their game? Why do I have to play by the government's game, or at least how it's structured? And for me, it's the small things I can do. A lot of the times I feel small, and I feel that I can only do so much in my little corner. And if my votes, which I can talk to my other points, where I feel like my vote mechanically doesn't matter or thematically doesn't matter, the little area that I can influence in the world, that I can actively see, the people at my queer center that I make silly little games for them, and the little sphere of internet space that I'm here now with you and doing all that, playing games and just nerding out. To me, that is active impact that I can see and know that that's what I'm doing.
So I have a question for you. Why are you now asking me what more you can do when you seem to already be doing more? You've already found...
Great question. Great question.
So what I think, if I may offer a criticism, if that is okay.
Please do.
What I think might be happening is you're doing the thing that a lot of people do. A lot of people who really like to think, who really like to be introspective. A thing that a lot of them do, and this is a problem that I have as well, is we meander on what could be done. We meander on what can be happening. We meander in that for so long that it causes us to engage in inaction. We then start justifying, oh, well, I didn't go out
analysis paralysis.
Yeah, you get analysis paralysis, and then you start justifying why you didn't do the things. So if you recognize that voting doesn't cost you anything but an hour of time once every couple of years, like that is the cost to you. And there are benefits to be gained, because when you go out to a voting block, you don't have to go alone. You can make it an event with your friends. You can do things with other people.
I
You
can
can
go
make
with
it
my partner.
You can make it a community thing. Go, like, if I go and vote, then the first thing that I'm going to be doing is either bringing home food for me and Saki. It was an opportunity to go outside and get some food. Or if I have her with me, then we voted, and then now I can go and we can go to like Texas Roadhouse or something, get a steak or something, reward ourselves for...
Make it like a little event.
Correct. So it costed us nothing but a little bit of time, and we gained something for it. What would be the benefit of not participating in that action? The basic one. We can see that the system is broken. It is, 110%. The system does not work very well in our favor, but to not at the very least utilize the tools in that system while also doing those other things feels kind of silly to me personally.
I can't disagree, and I think that's what hurts. And I think that's what hurts, and I think that's what a lot of people I've talked to who also don't vote have felt, is that we can see that it doesn't cost us anything, and yet, for me, I almost feel sometimes complicit. Like, but
how can you be complicit because you haven't been participating? You're complicit in nothing because you haven't been a participator in the process.
Well, to me, a non-vote, or at least what it has been for a while, to me, a non-vote was still letting my voice, or rather my non-voice, still be heard. In the sense of, like, if only, let's say, 100 people could vote in a thing, and only 50 people showed up to do it, and 50 people didn't show up at all, to me that says a lot, versus 90% doing it.
So,
saying I don't agree with any of the options at the table feels, to me, had felt just as powerful to do it than just not voting for either one.
And
because again,
and in effect,
Trump or Biden,
fascist. So let's look at the Biden thing real quick. What specifically did Biden do that caused you trouble? What was your main disagreement with how Biden operated?
Just not enough. And yet,
right.
I will give him this.
So not enough. Hold on. I want to grab that one. So not enough. So would you believe that it is a accurate statement to say that you let perfect be the enemy of good enough?
Yeah. Because in my head, I'd want progress, not status quo. I want 2 steps forward, not just stay in place.
Right. So what did he do that was status quo specifically?
Gosh, now we're actually into specifics and pop quiz. Darn it.
And I'm not sure. And if you can't think of anything, that's entirely fine, because this may be outside of things. So I can say for me, there are 2 things that come to mind immediately for me when I think of the Biden presidency. A negative of mine was how he was not a very media present president. He did not communicate to the American people as often as I feel like he should have, which is something that Trump, even though he is lying when he does it, it is something that Trump is ridiculously good at doing, is being the guy in front of the camera. But when I think of the good things from Biden's presidency, the 2 that come to mind are, 1, bringing trans people back into the military. So
that's true.
I come from a military family, but 2, I have a trans partner who wanted to join the military herself. And one of the main reasons that I see a lot of people who are in the, like, per capita, we have a higher representation of trans people in the military than we do cis people by population stats, because it is one of the paths forward for HRT. It is a guaranteed path forward for gender affirming care. That mattered to me. The other thing that mattered to me was how he operated with labor unions. I am a socialist. I wish we didn't have to have unions in the first place. I wish that we just had workers who owned that means of production, period. But the union is at least a thing that we can do in the interim. And when Biden operated with labor unions, he was a union supporter, even when he made the railway union force them to work past the point where they were trying to strike. He also made sure at the negotiating table that they got what they were trying to fight for in that strike. So for me, I can think of some negatives where Biden was concerned, but I can also think of some immediate positives that are in line with my beliefs. So,
And
was he great? No, but he was better than... No. He's better than my fellow U.S. citizens being shot in the streets.
Yeah, which is... If you want to know another reason why I wanted to have the call was because of Renee Good and all of that, because if that is a light of fire in your belly, I don't know what does.
Right.
But
the question then becomes...
we could stay on Biden. I had a point, but the other thing I wanted to bring up, if I may.
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
And for me, this is where I get into, I am a socialist, realistically. Like if I were to vote, which I've been more inclined than ever, if I were to vote, I would definitely vote on more socialist lines.
Mm-hmm.
But in heart of hearts, I would probably err on more of a anarchical communist kind of area thing. Not read it up. If there are people who espouse it, I'm using those terms very loosely. Politics
very vibes, very vibes based. I'm not going to hold you to account on the terms then, because if you're not meaning something specific with the terms, then we're just going to be arguing pedantry.
It's a way for me to it's a shorthand for me to say hierarchies and power and control don't sit well with me, and money I think is stupid.
Okay.
I'm using a lot of emotive terms like stupid and dumb, I am acknowledging that.
I can understand
money to me feels so corruptful as a system. I
disagree, but then again, we're socialist versus communist. I don't think money is an issue. Money is just a stand-in for what we do with exchange. Like, it is just the guy over there may not need a Magic the Gathering card from me in a trade for some flour, but I could hand him a $5 bill. And that is something that he has value in, because it has money is just a method by which we can exchange goods, where we all have an agreed upon value for that thing that we exchange goods for. Like, that's all it is as far as I'm concerned.
And for me, I see that and my brain just goes, then if money is a shorthand, if money is a great equalizer of goods, because that's what it would be, of I have this, but you have that, and it's a way to, do that, then why do some people have more than others and get to keep it?
Right. So
that's just the general.
That comes down to the economic system where money is involved. So money predates mercantile capitalism. The system of capitalism that began with mercantile capitalism and that's led to the more oligarchical capitalism we have right now, that system is newer than the concept of money. I would argue that it is the system by which that tool is being utilized that is the issue, more than anything.
Do you think, quick question, and then I'll get into my bigger question, still money adjacent, but the small question there would be, do you think it is possible to have do you think it's possible to have a moneyless, classless society? But I think you've already answered that, so actually skip past it. Do you think it's possible to have a system that can use money ethically, that can't be corrupted?
That can't be corrupted? No. No, I do not. I believe that it would be naive to say that any one system of any kind is immune to corruption. I do not believe there is a perfect one that we could find. I believe we can find
and then that ties into
ones.
Perfect versus good enough,
right?
And settling for perfect, we are humans. To live is to err, and to try to seek perfection would be folly. And sometimes it's just
shoot for the stars. You miss, you still hit the moon. My goal is that when I die, I would like my friends' kids, and if I am lucky enough to have kids, I would like them to be in a better society than the one that I was born into. I don't need it to be perfect. I need it to be better. And hopefully they carry that philosophy and will make their society better too. That would be my hope. But you said there was a second point, so
the other point of... Yes. Because I also have the neurospicy, so I'm like, ooh, this point, must ask, must answer.
And the tangents are fun, but they can cause us to start talking about talking instead of talking about what we wanted to talk about.
Yes. So back to voting instead of money. But if my vote actually mattered, these are the thoughts that happened to my head. If my vote actually mattered, why isn't it mandatory? My taxes are, but my vote isn't. So they would rather like punish me for not giving them money that would go back to helping me, to be fair. But then why is my vote not have the same level of requirements or value?
Okay, so unironically, I agree with you. I am for mandatory voting. I want mandatory voting.
Okay.
But I know that there are two reasons why we don't have it. Reason number one, in America, we have this concept called freedom. Now, I'm not saying that to be sarcastic. I'm saying that because the video that I just released today is about how that word means something different to different political groups. The right wing of the United States believe in freedom as a negative trait. Not freedom is bad, therefore it's negative, but do you know what a negative freedom is?
What's a negative freedom? So
a negative freedom is a freedom from something. You are free from violence. You are free from coercion. Okay. That's a negative freedom. Whereas a positive freedom is like you have access to healthcare. That's a positive freedom. You are free to get your cancer treated because you live in a system that allows you to do so. That's a positive freedom. I feel like most people on the left value positive freedoms and try to create an environment where more of them exist, whereas people on the right value negative freedoms. So when you mention, why isn't voting, why do we not, because it would be coercive, why do we not coerce voting? Well, that's because there's an entire part of our society that values the negative freedom of not being told what to do more than they value the positive freedom of any benefits to their society that would make things better for them in general. And the question...
You're going to tell me I can't drink while I'm a teenager, so I'm going to get drunk and barf and all that and while I'm a teenager. It's stuff like that.
Yeah, so ultimately, that... The question for me becomes, which group of people, politically, want you voting less? And typically it's the conservatives. Typically, they're the ones that are trying to make it harder to vote. They're the ones lowering the amount of polling stations we have access to. They're the ones who are usually trying to do things like keeping black people from being able to go and vote by moving the polling stations that exist into more like gentrified areas. That's something that Brian Kemp did over where I live. So if one side of the political spectrum values the idea of not being fucked with more than anything, that's the side that's likely going to advocate not for mandatory voting. And that's the side that is also doing things to make it harder to vote. There's only one side of the political spectrum in the States that is trying to fight desperately to get rid of mail-in voting. There's only one side of the political spectrum in the United States right now that is trying to get rid of early voting. The people who are trying to make it harder to vote recognize that voting is a tool that can undermine their power. So why would you not use the tool that helps undermine their power?
Is a good way to put it. Because in my head, like, if I don't vote, they don't give them power. But from how you worded that, it sounds like they've corrupted. You sound like the Republicans have corrupted my non-votes to help them.
Correct. So actually, you know what? I know a super easy way to go down this. You're familiar with the trolley problem, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay, cool.
Philosophy class in university, flashbacks.
Okay, so, question. Trolley problem is here. You don't know who's on either side, doesn't matter. Is not pulling the lever a decision?
Yes.
Okay, so not voting was a decision. And if not voting led to conservatives or also Democrats who are not aligned with your values getting a primary win, did you not participate in such a way that led to those powers gaining what they did by choosing not to participate?
Mechanically, I do think you are correct. That is the case. And yet emotionally, my brain wants to resist and fight back and go like, well, no, why, how could my non-vote help them?
Right.
And yet all you've done is make good points.
So like I agree where you're coming from. That's why earlier in the conversation I said like, but how could you have participated in the system? You actively chose not to. I said that specifically because there is a part of our brain that says that I am free from guilt. I am free from responsibility is maybe not the best word for it, but I am free from this thing if I choose not to participate. But if you choose not to participate, that has consequences. If a guy, like if you know CPR and a guy is choking in front of you and they start to pass out, you might know ways that can save their life, and you directly choosing not to engage in those can lead to a loss of human life. Did you do the thing that caused the person to start to die? No, but you choosing not to do the Heimlich... I have
the power to save them.
Yeah, but you choosing not to do the Heimlich, or you choosing not to do CPR to try to resuscitate them or save them before that point, the decision not to engage in those things you have the power to do, those...
The fears that would make it worse. Oh, that was an insight. That just happened.
Oh?
The idea is, the fear would be I would make the situation worse. Somehow.
Right. So
which is very irrational, I acknowledge.
So now what you've done is there's an issue that I've found in several friends of mine who are really neurodivergent, and I'm somewhere in the neurospicy area too, but I've noticed that we kind of have this problem sometimes of like fretting about the thing more than actually making a decision. We're worried about making the wrong decision. We don't want to hurt anybody. We don't want to cause harm. We don't want to do these things. And I agree with that. It's a very rational, it's a very human thing to do. But like with the trolley problem, it's still a choice. By choosing not to do something because you're worried about making the wrong choice, you inadvertently made a choice, and that choice could be the wrong one still. It just doesn't feel like it because we didn't go out and do anything.
And at least if I make a choice and I've made one, and I don't regret that not choosing a choice.
So what you've told me, and correct me if I'm wrong, I want to make sure I'm steel manning this. So what you've told me in this conversation is you feel more powerful when you choose not to vote, because it's like not giving the political process those powers. But in so doing, what I see is a person who has given up their ability to exercise any of the power they have. They've given that up because of a feeling of power. What you've done is 9/11 security theater. You've chosen a choice of feeling something that feels empowering, and there's certainly power in that. There's nothing wrong with feeling empowered about a thing, but you've chosen to feel empowered about a thing, but to actually give up rights in so doing. Because that's what 9/11 security theater is. We gave up a bunch of our rights to privacy for the security theater of feeling like the airplanes were more safe, but we don't really have any evidence that shows that happened. Does that sound accurate to what's maybe going on here?
Yeah, I think a little, actually. And it's this idea of, for me, the voting, it's hard to see all the problems and think that, how can your vote so matter? How can it matter when there's things like the electoral college that exists? How can things exist when you can see your politicians actively be bought out in the open? Like, they can declare the minimum wage. They can declare the minimum wage, and yet they themselves are not beholden to that wage. We live in a world where capitalism can tell my partner that's their inhaler that they were only paying $50 for is now $800 because now classified as a luxury item after the big beautiful bill. I live in that world, and it's hard not to go like, we had voted for change, and yet it didn't happen. Or at least we are not able to feel it, and and then we see us being shot in the streets.
Okay.
And it's hard not to just go, I just want to protect me and mine, and that's all I got either the spoons for or the energy for. And yet, yeah.
And for that kind of person, voting is a wonderful tool because it ultimately costs them nothing but an hour out of a year. If you don't have the spoons to do more than protect you and yours and take care of you and yours, that's fine. We live in a representative democracy so that we can delegate, offload the job of protecting us in the grander sense to other people. They may not always do a great job at it, and sometimes they are assholes who are bought by millionaires. This is why when I went up to New York and tried to advocate for Jamal Bowman, like, we still lost that. We got a Democrat in who was bought by AIPAC. That fucking pissed me off. But that's also what happens when you're playing in you're it sucks to say you're playing a game because it's the real lives of real people. But you only have...
I'm a game designer. I see the mindset. Yeah, I get you.
You only have the cards that you are dealt in this particular game. So you can throw them on the table and say, I'm not playing, and walk away, but like at that point you lost the game. Like, you've actively given up against whatever your opponent was. It's the same thing with voting. You may not have enough cards to change things, but you can still fight back.
Sorry, my kitty is fighting on plastic. Don't do that.
That's entirely fine.
Don't you do that. But yeah, Majesty.
I think...
Anyway, but...
I think it might be that what you're trying to do is be an ocean.
An ocean? Where is this going?
Okay.
Where is this going?
So, ultimately, there are over 300 million people in the United States. A significant portion of those people, I would argue even a majority of those people, want the states to become a better place that has access to healthcare, does not have ICE, Gestapoing in our fucking streets. I would argue a majority of the United States wants that, even if it's a simple majority. Yeah. But no one voter, no one pundit, no one anything can do anything about that. Sake Tanuki says, rip coffee alert. Oh, is there supposed to be did coffee not do? Okay. I need to actually get coffee to do alerts. Sorry, Sake Tanuki. I apologize. Let me go to my coffee and see what that was while I get on this. But there is an ocean of people who want the states to become better. Would you say that's an agreeable statement?
Yeah.
Right. Your frustration is that you're a drop in that ocean.
Yeah.
It's okay to be a drop. It's okay to just be a small part of making things better and to not be the whole. You don't have to be the leader of a movement. You don't have to be the reason that we get full ranked choice voting, fixing 90% of the issues with our winner-take-all system. You don't have to be any of that. You can be a drop. That's okay.
But enough drops, you have a bucket. Enough
buckets, you get a pool.
Yeah.
Enough pools, you get a lake. Enough lakes, you get an ocean.
Hence why they're called waves. Like the blue wave or red wave.
Oh, I don't know if that's the specific reason, but I understand where you're coming from.
No, I get... My brain is like, ooh, pattern recognition, boom. But, that does make sense. I had a whole... Honestly, I'm happy we had more of a conversation bit, because my neurospicy ass was like, I have a whole page typed with question after question that I was going to go into. But now it's an hour later.
Well, that's why I tried to be like, hey, let's lower this to 3 things, because I feel like I know what's going to happen even with that. Sake Tanuki said, lost connection during the dono check. Sake, I actually just checked it. You said, I don't have a dad bod, I have a father figure. Look, I say that as a man who needs to go to the gym today.
That's a good pun. I love that.
That is perfect. Thank you very much for the $15. I appreciate it.
And whoever gave me the tier sub, also thank you. Thank you so much.
But I question... I may have lost track of it because I wasn't writing things down as I would for like a debate or something, because that's not what I wanted this to be.
Because this is a convo.
Right.
Debating.
So you had 3 points. I know we got to 2 of them. Did we get to a third, or did that go somewhere in the weeds?
We had a soft third.
Okay.
But I guess the only thing I would
soft third sounds like a weird polyamory thing. But anyway, continue.
Sorry, that's I would say I'm just checking over my list, and I don't really see other than all my claims would be at capitalism, which I guess the general question to summarize to make things simple would be: do you think it is possible to actually get socialism?
Sure.
We have Mandami, but can that actually expand?
How many?
And is the only way of doing that by voting?
So, I do not believe voting is the only way to do it. I believe voting is a part of it. But because it's the easiest part that takes the least amount of time, I also think that there's no reason not to. My question would be, how do you get a Mamdani? Because I know here locally, here in Georgia, the way that we got, I think his name is Gabriel, who is a socialist. The way that we got Gabriel was the DSA. The Democratic Socialist of America organization got us a socialist in Georgia, of all places.
Like voted in, or just
voted in?
Running?
Voted in, not running. Won. Succeeded.
Was that the Energy Commissioner? Because I remember that was a whole thing.
Energy Commissioner is different. Energy Commissioner was because Georgia Power is fucking dumb. But no,
Agreed.
let me double check where he is. But
and also my state Nevada is also purple, so technically the vote that I think doesn't matter as much. My vote actually mechanically I think does count more, which is to me silly that my vote should count more than others, but
again, the system,
that's all other things.
The system is fucky. The system is fucky, but you still operate within it as best you can while trying to change it. You can. My argument is always you can do both. You can do both. But yeah, Gabriel Sanchez. We actually managed to get Gabriel Sanchez in. Like, the DSA did a lot of work to make that happen. And he's part of our state house. So not even Energy Commission, like, higher than that.
It's not just New York, it's in Georgia.
Correct. So, but the thing is, did the DSA do that just by voting? No, they didn't. They sunk a lot of money and they did a lot of political actions in order to actually get him not only on the ticket, because at least here in Georgia, when you want an elected office, you have to put a down payment of, I think it's 5% of whatever the office's yearly earnings are. So you need usually like a political action committee or somebody who's able to help front that bill to get you in. Well, it can't really be a PAC, but you know what I mean. You need somebody who is able to help front that bill, and that is something that the DSA tends to be good at allowing to happen. So, is voting the only way? Well, no, because there's a lot of invisible things that are happening behind the scenes with other organizations, especially socialist organizations, who are trying to move the levers of our politicians to get better people in for our primaries. The way that we get old-blooded Democrats out is by voting in the primaries, but the way that we put better people in for our votes to go for in those primaries is by using organizations like the DSA to put better people in those spots. I would argue you could both do more by voting, but also get involved in one of your more local political orgs to try to change things around. Like, for me, the one that's closest to me is the Paulding County Democrats. They're the ones that I have done work with, not extensively, but every now and again. And whenever I go to protests, I see them out there at most protests in our local area. Our representative who was running against Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's now going to be running against an empty seat, whoever the Republicans put there to try to fight, it's whatever. But Paulding County Democrats put Sean Harris up there as their person that they are trying to run in the primary. I can go to the Paulding County Democrats and through them talk directly to Sean. I have talked directly to Sean. I can just go and interview him if I want. I can go and pester him if I want. I can go and spout a disagreement with him if I want. Because that org is right there. I say down the street, but it's not really. Yeah. It's not really. It's a hypothetical. You can physically
go to their location and actively have an in-person conversation.
Boy, howdy, I wish they had a location. It's been between restaurants and public libraries and all kinds of shit. Like, it's literally the place.
Oh, no.
The place changes because we don't have the funding here for a local Democrat, or we got abandoned by the larger party, which sucks ass. But that's also why you have to do that political groundwork from the ground up.
Yeah, I voted for Bernie in 2016, and then
I thought you were a non-voter.
Well, I hadn't voted since 2016.
Okay.
So I had voted, and then I saw that Trump won but didn't. And that's what kind of also... The Roe v. Wade and the Trump won but didn't even get the popular votes, but through Electoral College he was able to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And even now he's still president, and yet he's been charged so often he's still in office. So it's like, I can keep complaining about like how at first, if the system is so good, or if my vote matters, then how can someone who can like be so antithetical to the people? And that's also what's helped built into that. That was a point that I didn't bring up. But I want to be respectful of your time. You did say an hour for us. It's been an hour.
I'm good for...
I don't mind talking more.
I'm good for another 10 or 15 minutes if you want.
Okay. I just want to be respectful. You've been amazing. And I haven't looked at the chat, but I'm assuming you guys are being awesome.
Chat's being
chaotic.
respectful. Chat's being fine.
Good.
So
I just cannot focus on the conversation and the chat. So
that's entirely fine.
But
that's entirely fine. Just on the voting thing, you know that Trump won popular vote this last time, right?
Yes, and then there were things that came out that somehow the vote was rigged somehow.
Right.
So
I'm not gonna go into any of the weeds on that because, unlike Steven Crowder, I don't pretend to be an expert about it. But okay.
Neither am I.
In the previous election, Biden got 81 million votes. Trump got 74 million votes. Trump lost, due in no small part to Georgia, among other swing states, flipping over to blue. We got blue Georgia. That felt great. Harris managed to pull 7 million or 6 million votes less than Biden did.
Which is no small number.
It's no small number. And Trump only managed to pull 3 million more than he did in the previous election. So we had more right-wingers who were willing to vote for him, and we had more left-wingers who were not willing to vote, period. 6 million of them at least. Over 200 million people in the United States are of voting age. Only 150 million voted in the last election. What do you think?
And that's where I would go, well, that's where, my brain is solution mode. It would be awesome if we had mandatory voting, or if we are all about them freedoms. If we're all about them freedoms, and then, if we want to have non-voting be an option, then maybe turnouts requirements of, if not enough of the population votes, then the vote doesn't happen. It's a recount.
That's entirely understandable. I do not hate that idea. But what I would like to point out is you don't live in that world.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
I wish I did.
I like that idea. I want mandatory voting. But neither you nor I live in that world for America. So what do we do with the hand that we're actually dealt? We can wax lyrical about the hypothetical world we want, or we can recognize that we don't live in that world, and we can start taking steps to work towards that. And I don't think not voting is a step towards anything other than letting the party who has the highest incentive to get you to not vote maintain power.
Yeah.
Jet Fatigue in chat says 6 million people saying it's just one vote. 6 million drops who are upset that they are not a bucket, pool, or ocean. Yes.
Yeah. I think also what I wanted to get to, actually, before I leave you to it,
sure,
is, and this does go into what things you've said before, and I didn't know how much it was true until I was preparing to talk with you, and I realized it was more true than I would like to admit.
Okay.
But in terms of on the emotional sense, because we can, again, wax lyrical, On the emotion sense, which is what I will advocate for a lot, is because emotions are valid. Emotions to me are facts, but that's all things are. Tangent.
That's entirely fine.
Is I do think you do have a point in the when you are alone and disconnected from people around you, you feel less incentivized to do those things. And I don't think it's any small coincidence that this moment right now, where I felt the most empowered to vote and actually seek a conversation with you, is when I'm actually in a happy, healthy relationship with a partner after a year with them and with a kitty that we take care of.
Mm-hmm.
And me wanting to make their life better has incentivized me more than just on my own, where I can just easily not care for myself. But caring for another person that lives with me and I can see what happens in the day-to-day has been more persuasive than not. So what I would advocate for the people who are watching, whoever does this, if you put this on YouTube, but you do have my consent for it, by the way.
Okay.
But I would say, regardless of whether you vote or not, whatever side you come out of this, harm reduction is a good argument for voting regardless, but whatever side you choose, I would say try not to be alone and whatever, do it. Because being alone, no matter how your votes turn out, no matter how valuable your vote is, being alone will make them win on the war of hate. And if you find ways to love, if you find ways to actually go out, I found my partner at the Hour Center that I'm now running D&D games at. And because I actually went out, got out of my house to go do that and actually did something, I'm able to do this content creation. I'm able to have this conversation and still in front of 68 people, which is a lot, but it's helping. I'm able to actually do that, and just, it's okay if you can go outside, do so. You will not regret it. Not right now. There's a freezing cold weather storm. Don't die. But what I mean later.
I mean,
where you are in Georgia and all that.
You could always go out there with like a laser sword to make you feel warm, but that's a thing that I would still not suggest doing. That said,
gosh, I want my own lightsaber. Darn it. I wish.
I will say this to piggyback off of that. There is a billionaire, the richest man in the world right now, who benefits more by you being alone and isolated than anybody else because he's trying to sell you an AI girlfriend in your fucking car. So...
Croc, is that true? Oh, gosh.
So I would say
AI,
I would...
We didn't even touch on AI. We didn't even touch on that, but I also hate that with a burning passion.
Completely understandable. It is a
all
tool.
Of my work is no AI in my work, just so you guys know. I'm just putting that out there too.
It is a tool of many uses, and one of those uses seems to be to keep us from actually like organizing with one another, which is fucking insidious. But
agreed.
That said, I do want to say I enjoyed talking with you, and I want to ask you if there were any takeaways from this conversation.
There were a lot. There were a lot of takeaways, but the main takeaway I would have is I think what I will do is probably for me, the best I can do is just go with my partner when they vote, because they're avid voters since fucking from Obama time.
Thanks, Obama.
And I'll go with them, and if nothing else, I'll have my vote empower theirs. And if that empowers me, then probably. But cool. I do think you are right in that non-voting gives them more power. And something we didn't talk about, but chat has been, as said a little bit, there is harm reduction. Is that even though yes, it's a lesser of two evils, at least if you won't make any progress, but at least you won't go back. And that's better than going back.
Do you choose not to engage in triage simply because there will be a number of bodies afterwards?
So, I won't know what I will do, but honestly, I probably will find ways to do more.
Well,
so thank you.
And I appreciate that. If that's the only thing that came from this, then cool. This will go on YouTube, and maybe somebody else will find it useful.
I hope so. I most likely will vote if you're looking for that outcome.
I would hope for that. I'd like you to do more.
I hope so. I want to,
but
vote,
I at least want that one happening.
Yes, I want to vote, and I probably will after all of this. I just hope that my depression and other hopelessness doesn't win, which hasn't for a while, so let's hope.
Don't let your depression be a tool that Donald Trump wants to use.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you would like to end this before you go off into your whole stream?
The only other one that I would say, the only thing that I would end on is, hey guys, maybe it's a good idea to have conversations with people who disagree with you on the internet, but not in fucking forums or on Reddit or on Facebook. Maybe not the places that actually benefit from that conflict.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. One random fun question. This is a fun question. Nothing to do with politics. And this doesn't have to stay in the video, but I've wanted to ask this for years.
Yes, there is a correlation between Sonic the Hedgehog and autism.
That's not, but I don't disagree. Do you think, this is a weird question to ask of a cis straight man, but do you think your VTubing, when you're with your avatar, is a form of digital drag? Would you see it as that?
Sure, why not? Drag is a performance about gender. Neat.
It's just digital performance. Sweet. Yay!
Yeah, if somebody wants to call my channel a drag show, I just hope it's not a drag.
And with that, I have no words to say. That's perfect.
Right. I will see you later.
Thank you again.
Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Britzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagitta, you know I'm not saying that last part, Valis of Seraph, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.